Welcome back, everybody. It's Saturday, and that means we've got another movie in the 50 Shades of Horror for you. And we got all the way to 2020 this time with the movie Freaky. If you want to stream this movie, here's where you can do it. Not that there haven't been some great movies as of yet, but I'm so jazzed that we're far enough into the series that we can actually do legit slasher movies. And that's what Freaky is, a throwback to the classic slasher movies, with Vince Vaughn playing the Blissfield Butcher. He's a simple man, not unlike Chrombopulous Michael.
Listen, if you ever need anybody murdered, please give me a call.
You're giving him a
discreet.
card?
I have no code of ethics. I will kill anyone, anywhere. Children, animals, old people, doesn't matter. I just love killing.
But the slasher movie genre isn't the only source of inspiration for the movie. This is also a Freaky Friday movie. In fact, this movie was originally titled Freaky Friday the 13th, but I heard that Disney wasn't feeling it, so they sent a cease and desist. It's a shame, though. The title is absolutely perfect for this movie. Just imagine that you do a Freaky Friday body swap, but it's in a Friday the 13th movie. So instead of a mother and daughter having a couple of fortune cookies cause them to respect each other's needs and struggles, you have a slasher villain and a final girl swap bodies. It's brilliant. I have to admit that I have a soft spot for these high-concept, unrealistic movie premises. I really like Back to the Future, How Peggy Sue Got Married, Freaky Friday, and Groundhog Day, the last of which the creators of this movie also made a couple of slasher movie mashups with Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You. So if you like Freaky, there's another couple of movies that'll be right up your alley. But what comes with the territory for these movies is a willing suspension of disbelief. You can't really tell these stories in a way that feels even slightly realistic. The logistics of how a magical dagger can transfer two people's consciousnesses into one another's bodies is something you'll just have to accept because of how much fun it is. And that isn't the only thing you'll have to dismiss in this movie. There's weird, unbelievable things that happen in regards to the police tracking them, the safety regulations at their school, and other issues with realism. So if you want your movies to refrain from hand waviness, this movie will probably rub you the wrong way. But my rule is, if it's cool, it's okay if it doesn't make sense. Things not making sense only really bothers me when you're straining credibility in a way that makes the movie less fun. If it's a stretch, but that's the only way we get to see something great, then I'm not going to complain. And trust me, every corner this movie cuts is in the interest of making better scenes. Let's take, for instance, the first kill that the butcher commits after the body swap. There's this really fake, annoying bully character that has been tormenting the movie's hero, Millie. After the publicized attack on Millie, this girl wants to pretend like they're best friends to profit off Millie's trauma. So the butcher sees an opportunity. After sizing up the various weapons that could be used, he ultimately decides on shoving her into a cryogenic chamber. So apparently I'm not rich enough because I thought this was entirely made up, but there are actually some people that have so much money burning holes in their pockets that they opt to freeze themselves. Wow, I really need to start a Patreon to get in on this sci-fi action. Anyway, in the real world, these things are open at the top and so you don't let your head in. And there's a friendly technician there to make sure that you don't hurt yourself. But by ignoring those realities, we get to see this clout goblin get turned into a popsicle and smash into a billion pieces on the floor. Does it make sense? No. Is it awesome? Yes. So let's back up a little bit and talk about the main character, Millie. She's a timid, insecure girl, and she has a good reason to be. Her father passed away a year ago, not so long ago that she obviously should have worked through her pain, but not recent enough that she obviously shouldn't have made her peace with it yet. Her mom is not taking it so well and is starting to lapse into some pretty dysfunctional alcoholism. She's also really clingy to Millie, to the point that Millie's ambitions to move away to go to college have to be kept a secret. So Millie's extracurriculars, that she's only doing to look good for her college apps, has her out of the house until late at night. She's waiting for her mom to pick her up, who is already passed out from drinking too much wine. Millie's friends Nyla and Josh want to stay with her.
I'm good, just go.
But Millie doesn't want to burden them and sends them off. When she's all alone, she sees a figure across the street.
Please don't be the butcher, please don't be the butcher, please don't be the butcher.
I don't know, Millie. That guy's got some big butcher energy. So after suspensefully chasing and hiding and chasing some more, the butcher stabs Millie with the knife, starting the spell. Millie's sister Char, who is a police officer, shows up to save Millie, but unfortunately the killer escapes. So the spell goes into effect while they're both sleeping. I haven't mentioned how funny this movie is yet, and these scenes where Millie and the butcher wake up in one another's bodies are where the comedy really comes into its own.
You were just hallucinating?
Hey, you got any jelly beans and drugs, man?
Oh my God.
No, I don't have any drugs. Just, I'm just curious, what do I look like? Do I look like a girl? Very petite, blonde?
You gotta get drugs. You're high right now. I want to feel like a teenage girl. I want to feel like a girl.
Vince Vaughn does some incredible work for this movie, acting dainty, insecure, and jumpy. But the standout performance is Kathryn Newton. Since this movie is a horror comedy, she has to pull off simultaneously being hilarious and intimidating, which she manages to do by being this brute force of nature. All of her actions as the Butcher look so brazen and guileless, like the Butcher is an apex predator. And when the Butcher starts to realize that the way everyone treats a petite, pretty young woman is so radically different from what he's used to, he starts to use the privileges to his advantage in a way that feels like a mockery of his previous victims.
Help! Oh my God! Someone's been a butcher! Help me!
Please, run!
And with the central premise of this film being taking these two extremely different people, both inside and out, and having them switch bodies, the movie gets to explore what impact your physical makeup has on your personality. Millie gets to feel what it's like to be the biggest person in the room, to be able to force other people to clear the way for her.
In a really strange way, it hasn't been all bad. I felt oddly empowered being in this body, like invincible or kind of badass.
The Butcher gets to see what it's like being so small, where other people can stop his assaults so effortlessly. And even more importantly, it shows how the way everyone treats these people based on their appearances has such an impact on them. In the Butcher's body, it's nearly impossible for Millie to get people to want to help her. In Millie's body, the Butcher finds everyone's attention on him, and no matter how many bad things happen around him, no one ever puts him under any suspicion. And the best part about these ideas that the movie raises is how organic they are to the plot. We don't have to stop the story to say any of this. We get to see them play out through the events of the story. Take, for instance, the best kill of the movie. Mr. Fletcher is Millie's shoproom teacher, and has been unfairly singling her out since before the body swap.
Millie Kessler. Time to present your doghouse.
But you said the 16th? It's not ready yet.
Once again, Miss Kessler is unprepared.
Can I just do it the 16th?
Can I just do it? Speak up. Oh, crocodile tear doesn't excuse your poor planning, Miss Kessler.
When the Butcher takes over, he sees that Millie's crush, Booker, has a bleeding finger, and so he, like any stone-cold psycho, just grabs it and starts sucking the blood out.
God damn it, Millie. I am so sick of your constant need for attention. If only you would spend a little less time flirting and a little more time learning, you might actually make something out of yourself.
So the movie shows how young women can get picked on by older men who want to flout their authority, escaping their pathetic inefficacy in their own lives by showing off their higher station in the social hierarchy. But the Butcher doesn't get his revenge by pointing this out. He gets his revenge by attacking the teacher after class. But this is where he learns a lesson about the limitations of Millie's body. But he doesn't let it get him down. He improvises, adapts, and overcomes. And while the screwdriver to the neck would have been satisfying enough on its own, the Butcher goes all out by activating the table saw and pushes Mr. Fletcher right down the middle. The movie also does a smart job of making the characters that end up meeting their grisly fates quite despicable. It keeps the movie fun, since it never feels tragic when one of the heels gets slaughtered. But the likable characters are threatened too, it's just that they always seem to get away in time. So despite this being a movie where you get to see some legitimately impressive gory visual effects, I still think that most audiences won't have any trouble stomaching this movie. This is where the challenge will really start getting good, by showing people who otherwise might be reluctant to see a movie where a guy gets sawed in half in a gruesome fashion, that the movie can actually be pretty fun and easy to watch. While obviously I recommend going over the previous movies first, I could see someone jumping into the horror genre right here and being hungry for more. This week's recommendation is for 3C Films. This channel is a great source for getting up-to-date reports on upcoming movies, while also doing reviews once they are released. Chris is really passionate about superhero and horror films, and strikes a wonderful balance between optimism and criticism about blockbuster movies. In his strong recommendation of Freaky, he brings up one of the best scenes that I haven't mentioned.
There's even one scene that I don't want to give too much away, but she's basically in the car, in the back seat, with the boy she's in love with, and that entire scene, so hilarious and cringe-filled at the same time. Like, in the world we've been having lately, and just how horrible it's been, this is the perfect kind of movie to just have some fun, but it also throws in enough horror elements where you feel like you are watching an actual slasher film.
So check out 3C Films' Freaky Movie Review. The link's in the description. You know, there's a lot of this movie that I haven't touched on. I have a lot more to say, so I'm planning on releasing a full-length commentary for this movie. There's a Friday the 13th coming up next month, so that seems like the perfect time to release it. But in the more immediate future, come back next Saturday for the 15th movie in the series, The Babysitter, released in 2017. Here's where you can find this movie available for streaming. And these two movies are great to have back-to-back, both being horror comedy movies that are less than 5 years old, starring beautiful blonde butchers. See you then! And thanks for watching.